Hello, vibrant souls. Welcome back to another episode of the Nereyda Ramirez podcast.
Hello.
and I
Nice to.
have, yes, I have here a beautiful, vibrant soul that I met through my travels called
Hello. Hello,
Rathan.
everyone. Yeah, I'm Rathan. I live in India, and yeah, she's gonna let you know how we met and then how we got to be friends.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you're here. He's in Brea, so we're in
Yes,
Brea recording this podcast
me too. Very, very
episode.
happy. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
very.
and
Yeah,
it's awesome. It's so nice to have you. It's so nice to.
yeah.
I was just telling a friend that it feels like you brought the world to me
Awesome. Yeah, that's
with your
nice. That's nice
presence,
to know.
and
Yeah.
it's brought a lot of really good memories and laughter. But yeah, on this episode, we're going to be talking about our trip to India,
Mhm.
like how we met and our experience traveling to Neem Karoli Baba's ashram and
Awesome.
all
Yeah.
of that good stuff.
Yeah,
So
we're
why?
excited. We're excited to share. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So okay, so we met in Rishikesh,
Yes.
India.
Yeah.
Why did we go there? Why did you go there?
Okay. So, folks who are listening, Rishikesh is a place in India. It's supposed to be very holy, very popular tourist place now, and the capital of yoga of the world. You
Mm-hmm.
can literally learn any form of yoga in that place. There are stores lined up with all the yoga supplies, and there are all kinds of teachers. All various forms of yoga that are taught, you can very easily find in that place. So
Mm-hmm.
it's called sometimes as yoga capital of the world.
Yes.
Okay, so what made me go to that place? So I was telling you earlier, I work for a company that usually offers like a shutdown. The all the offices are closed, the AC, power, everything is off for a period of at least 2 weeks. So we close just before Christmas, and then we open the offices after first week of January. So I
Mm-hmm.
usually have a long vacation. So I went to Delhi, that's the capital city, close to Rishikesh.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed there for about 4 nights, and then I did a program that we called as naturopathy in India. It's all about how to cure issues naturally, how to align, how to
Mm-hmm.
detox, for example, then how to be on a water fasting for a long time. Things like that, which will help you to restore the balance. Excuse me. So I did that course, and then it was more or less a backpacking tour after that, because I
That's
had booked a
awesome.
flight from Bangalore, that is in the southern part of India where I live. I
Mm-hmm.
flew into Delhi, that's the northern part of India, and then nothing else I had booked, because I knew I had few holidays, but I didn't
Uh-huh.
know which place I would go, what I would do, etc. So on the last night of that program, I mentioned this to my roommate that I have a lot of days left, and I don't know which place to pick. And he was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, maybe Rishikesh is the place you should go. You might like because of the vibrance that you see in the place, the food, the people. It's like people all over the world come and stay."
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, "Okay, maybe you could go there and try." Then finally, I booked a train. Then the very next day, and then came to Rishikesh,
Mm-hmm.
and I still would have not booked anything to return back. So fly back home, I have not thought about it. I said, okay,
Yeah.
let's see, because I still have a lot of days. So that's what took me to Rishikesh. Now, of all the places in India, how did you pick Rishikesh? Why did you choose Rishikesh, and why did you
Well,
go there?
it's funny because I never had a plan to go to India,
Mm-hmm.
and I had heard about it through talks with Ramdas
Uh-huh.
and being in that community. I was living in Vietnam
Mm-hmm.
that year,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that I really wanted to do was get a certification to be a meditation teacher. So I was living in Hanoi, Vietnam, and I was already guiding meditations and book
Mm-hmm.
clubs. And I feel like I needed something more to like
Okay.
hold me
Mm-hmm.
to guide, or I wanted more tools under my belt.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking it up and trying to see like Vietnam, and at the same time with my visa, I had to leave Vietnam every 3 months to
Oh,
like a different
okay.
country.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought like, oh, like what if I just leave Vietnam
Mm-hmm.
and do both? Like I also
Okay.
was a school teacher
Mm-hmm.
and had vacation for Christmas.
Okay.
So
So,
it was like what if I just leave and then I'll come back? And one of the schools that I found was in Rishikesh. India.
Okay.
And yeah, like it was like a week-long meditation
Meditation.
course to be
Okay.
a meditation teacher.
Wow.
But funny enough, though, like
Mm-hmm.
when I went there, like long story short,
Mm-hmm.
I only lasted like a day or two in the course because it
Okay.
didn't feel right. You know, so it took a while for me to kind of really get grounded, and it was a lot of practice.
Mhm.
And I left like the second day. So then it was like, okay, like I need to book a hostel and
Yeah.
leave, and I'll figure out the rest of my 7 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad the program didn't work out. Otherwise,
Me
probably would
too.
have
I'm
not
so glad it
met you.
didn't work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So before you came to India from Vietnam, what were the kind of fears you had? What were the thoughts? What have you heard, or what had you read online, etc.?
Yeah.
So what were those?
So no offense to anybody.
Yeah.
These are just limited beliefs that I had at the
Sure.
time.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I had heard was that it was like a third world country.
Mhm.
So like don't eat or be very
Okay.
careful with what you eat. You
Mhm.
might get like sick.
Sick. Okay.
You know, it might be like a really bad trip if you do that.
Mhm.
Like I did hear that men were more aggressive.
Mhm.
So
Sure.
to be really careful as a woman traveling,
Mhm.
right? And that like I know like rape was like a topic of conversations in India where it's
Mhm.
like be careful, like
Okay.
it's not a good country to go, especially when you're by
Okay.
yourself or a woman.
Okay.
So it was like that narrative.
Mhm.
And it was interesting because when I got to India,
Mhm.
the meditation teacher
Mhm.
place, they
Mhm.
were supposed to pick me up, but
Okay.
they didn't. Like I waited maybe like 2 hours to hear from them, and they were
Oh.
like, hey, actually our driver's on their way, like give us another hour. And then I stayed another, so I was like in the airport for like 3 hours, and then they eventually called again, and they were like, hey, by the way, can you get a hotel because our car broke down and we won't be able to pick you up until the morning.
Okay.
And I remember it was like 2 a.m. or whatever, being
Oh.
nervous, like
Oh, yeah.
fuck, like now
It's-
what?
it's-
Like now
yeah,
what do I do? Like I was depending, I didn't really look into it because
Yeah.
I was depending my whole week on
Okay.
the course picking me up, going to the classes, and then getting dropped off. And then what happened was that there was a really sweet person that helped me, you know, like on the phone, and but he told me like, oh, go to the taxis over there and tell him to drop you off on the strip. You know, he kept mentioning that there was like a strip outside of the airport. And again, it was a little scary because I also didn't have Wi-Fi, so I had to be really close to the airport and they wouldn't let me go in again.
Oh yeah.
You know, so it's like okay, so it felt really scary.
Sure.
But I ended up going to the taxi like place.
Yeah, because Uber works, but maybe in that area it was.
I didn't even have the app.
Oh, you didn't have Wi-Fi.
Like I didn't know any of that. Yeah, I didn't have Wi-Fi.
Okay.
I didn't have the app.
Yeah.
So the guy who was helping me in the airport, like he was like, "Hey, go to that taxi house and tell him to drop you off at the strip." And I'm like, "Okay, right." So I got a taxi driver, and the taxi driver that I got, like he felt scary.
Oh.
Right. So I remember telling him and him driving and him being really aggressive and saying, "No, I'm going to drop you off here." And I'm like, "No, like drop me off at the strip." And he was like, "No, like you don't understand. It's so big." And it was during Christmas time.
Oh,
so he was like, "No, you don't understand. It's going to be so busy."
Mm-hmm.
And then I started getting really worried because I don't even know where I'm at. We're on the highway.
Oh,
like these fears that I have feel like they're coming true.
Yeah.
And I remember being really aggressive back and being like, "No, I said drop me off here." And he was like, okay. But again, I'm like fucking already freaked out.
Yeah, freaked out, but you're not showing it off.
I'm not, no. And I think it's a buildup. It's like getting out from the airport, not having Wi-Fi, like waiting so long, like not having contact with the meditation person.
Sure.
Them telling me, hey, by the way, book something because we're not going to arrive on time. And then right? It was just like a lot. So he did. He dropped me off at the center at the strip. And then like I went to like a couple of hotels and I think because I was a little overwhelmed and like in fear, I kept thinking that they were saying $3,000 for a night, but it was like, no, it's 3,000 rupees, right? And I was like, I can't afford $3,000 a night. Like, I'm like, what am I gonna do? So then I remember walking like out of 2 hotels and just like again taking a deep breath, and I was like, oh, Nereyda, like you're stupid. Like it's rupees. Like you have the money for it.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think I stayed at a Holiday Inn or something, and as soon as I got to the hotel, I started crying. like all the tears came up, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, did I do the right choice?
Okay.
And again, like they ended up picking me up like 3 hours later at like 6 a.m. Like I only had like 3 hours to sleep.
Okay.
And then that felt a little scary because the driver didn't talk to me.
Oops.
And the whole ride, I think it was like a 6-hour ride from Delhi. Was it Delhi to Rishikesh?
Rishikesh.
It's like a long ass drive.
Oh, I took a train, so.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. But see, on the way back, I ended up getting an airplane from Rishikesh to Delhi.
From
the airport to airport.
Dehradun is the place where you get the.
And I don't know who told me. I don't know if you were the one that told me. Yeah. But
that is just a 1 hour flight, I guess.
Yeah.
It's very
oh
short
my god.
One. Yeah, that's
yes.
much better than
the drive.
The drive. Yes.
Yeah, and then the car. It was super awkward. Like I was already feeling tense. Right, and then we stopped at a stop place, and I remember getting out and seeing women covered.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, "Fuck! Like I'm not covered at all. Like, am I gonna get in trouble? Like what's gonna happen, right?" And again, it you could feel the energy being male dominated, you know. But I mean, I got to the meditation place and it was fine. But those were my fears, and it felt like as soon as I landed, they were coming true.
Yeah, because to me it feels like attracts like. So you kept on building up these thoughts. So the universe has no other choice but to give you that experience. So
yeah.
And then later when we met, I was trying to tell you that first remove this from your system.
Yeah.
Because the whole country, you cannot judge a country based on few people, right? Because there are many other countries on the planet which has much worse rape rates, but they pay the media, they pay others, and they snub the whole news. But that is what I was feeling, that I mean, it could happen to people, but not everybody. And if you don't ask for it, you won't. And if you don't have the karma for it, then it will never happen. But that's
well, you were the one that like really changed that perspective.
Oh yeah.
And I also, I don't know why, but I also trusted you right away when I first met you. But it's like, even when that conversation, and then as we traveled and got to know each other, it was like, oh yeah, like, of course not all men are like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, sure. So at least your perspective changed later on. So that's good.
Yeah.
So I think the reason why I spoke to you, or why I interacted, was that so I was in the room below, right? I think you were in the individual suite as such. I was in the room one floor below that. So for me, again, I didn't know how many days I would stay. I was just paying by the day and then trying to extend like a 2 days or 1 day, things like that.
Yeah.
And then I went out I used to have dinner along that street, which had good restaurants, and then come back. And then I one of the nights while I was getting into that hostel, I heard you talk about some Babaji, and then I heard you describe about some place which you had no clue. I also thought you were kind of hinting on going there, because you were either crying from the hotel, or something happened. You went to a restaurant, had food, and can you describe that? Yeah, then
so it's funny because like I left the meditation center, right, and I did book the hostel, right, that we stayed at, where we met.
Yeah, Ma Ganga hostel. Yeah.
Yes, shout out, guys.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it was like the first day. It wasn't even overnight yet. Like I went to go and like drop off my stuff, and then I started walking down the strip. And then I found this like restaurant tea place on the second floor. I don't know why it called me.
Sure.
But when I got there, there was a picture of Baba, like behind the owner. But I was talking to the owner, and all of a sudden I see the picture and I started tearing up, and I was like, I just know him. Like, I don't know why I'm tearing up.
Sure.
Like I don't really have a connection to him.
Okay.
And the owner was like, oh, you know, it's okay, sweetie. Like, those are tears of joy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. And at the time, I had this perspective that I only could cry when I'm sad. And so when he said that, I was like, okay. And he was like, and then he's the one that said, go here. Like, here are the ashram is nearby. And he gave me like the address, or he gave me some type of information. I got it, and then that's when I went back to the hostel. And then I was talking to the people who work there, like, hey, how do I get there? Like, I'm going there.
Yeah, and they had a hard time figuring out what you were trying to say.
Yeah.
So I think for the viewers, what she is talking about is a person. He's a saint. You can call him. His name is Neem Karoli Baba. He lived in the upper part of like the North India, you can say. And then the interesting part about him, the background is that Steve Jobs would have not been able to set up. Technically, I cannot say not been able to, but at some point, he even in his autobiography, he documented that he was broke. He dropped out of school, and then he took a flight and came to India. He lived in the surrounding there. There is an ISKCON temple nearby.
Wow.
He was so broke he couldn't afford to buy food there. ISKCON, as you know, most of the temples in India, they offer free food, like lunch, and then some of them do dinner as well. So he was having only one meal a day, which is given in ISKCON, and then he used to stay on the street. I've heard he used to stay in ISKCON, etc. So long story short, somebody referred him, asked him to go to Neem Karoli Baba's ashram for guidance. Now, by the time he went to the ashram, Neem Karoli Baba was no more. He had left his body. So he was having the hope that I would meet Baba, but he had left. So he did meditate, or he went to the temple, etc. And then he got blessed. And then he got some guidance. And then he moved back to the States, and then Apple happened.
Wow.
And the second incident where, again, Neem Karoli Baba helped the Silicon Valley is Facebook. The founders of Facebook is Mark Zuckerberg, as you know. And he, at some point, Facebook was bankrupt and was about to close. One of his mentors was Steve Jobs. And so Mark went to Steve and asked him, hey, look, this is what I'm facing through. Facebook is almost like bankrupt. Steve's, being the mentor, he guided him. Stop whatever you're doing, take a 2-week vacation, go to India, go and stay in this ashram, do this, and then immediately Mark followed that. Again, he got some kind of an intuition, came back, fixed the things at Facebook, and then it became a successful business after that. So I've heard many other people, successful people, like, for example, I think most popular is Ram Dass. He even changed his name. He changed his profession. We're talking about the guy who invented LSD. It's a drug. So he was very popular because of the drug. He was a Harvard professor.
Yeah. So he didn't invent it, but he did explore it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Like Ram Dass, Albert. So he was like, he had the whole materialistic type of success, and he was a professor at Harvard, and then, like in the 70s, 60s, I believe. And he kept like he was like a big person like in those spaces, and at some point he kept kind of like thinking like there must be more, like I'm missing something. But he also was one of the first pioneers to study LSD and psilocybin. I think I said that wrong. In those like therapeutic settings. But at some point, like, he ended up going to India. And then, on a spiritual quest to find that like more. And he found Baba.
Wow, yeah, I heard of the story that he was thinking about his mother the previous evening, and then the next day they went because he was not too conductive, or he was not too receptive to Babaji, but he went with his friend, and Baba called him and then said, were you not thinking about your mother? He could read his mind, basically, right?
Well, that's the power of Baba, guys. Like,
that's the power of
like, I guess that night, like, he was thinking about his mom, and like his mom had died of, I think, spleen, something with the spleen. And then the next day, like, because he went with like another kind of spiritual, like, American person, and that spiritual American person was like, we have to go visit Baba, visit Baba, and Ram Dass was like, okay, like, I'm gonna go with you. And then he said that when they arrived at the ashram, everybody was around Baba's feet. And Ram Dass was like, what? Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, who does he think he is, you know, for us to touch his feet? And then all of a sudden, Baba was like, hey, like, you, like, come here. And he kind of messed with him a little bit about, like, oh, you have a car and you have all this money, right? And at some point, Baba told Ram Dass, like, hey, you were under the stars last night and you were thinking about your mom, huh? And like the spleen. And he said that in that moment, like, oh my God, I'm getting the chills. He said that like in that moment, like he kind of went in his head like, did the FBI put me to this? Like, is it the scholars? Like, is somebody following me? But I guess in that moment when he looked at Baba, like all he felt was this like unconditional love.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Baba saw him and knew him, and it was like the first time Ram Dass had felt like so much love.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he was like on his feet. Like...
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've heard he's an avatar of Lord Hanuman, and then
Yeah.
he actually didn't need anything. He was just using a cloth, and the food was very limited. So
Yeah.
And another story I heard about him and Ram Dass was that the amount of LSD that you take will influence the experience. So usually they take a small pill per day, and then when he went to see Babaji, then he had a stash that is sufficient for an entire month.
Oh, Ram Dass?
Yeah, Ram Dass.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I guess I remember like the story, like he also had like the LSD was stronger because Ram Dass had like a stronger
version of it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Baba said, give me whatever you have, I will try. And then instead of taking a small dosage, which is good for 12 hours, he took like a handful, which is good for a month. And then he swallowed everything. And then Ram Dass was sitting in the corner and then trying to observe when this guy will pass out or he will start acting crazy. And then the entire bhajan happened. They did some meditation. They did some prayers, whatever happened after that for several hours. Babaji was like completely under control.
Yeah.
And then Ram Dass was so surprised. How come for me just one small pill I'm out for 12 hours or 15 hours, and this guy swallowed a handful and then nothing happened to him. So that was one of the powers he had, was like he could transform. Transmute.
And it was and I remember like the part of that story too, like Baba had mentioned I guess like there's like a joke because I guess Ram Dass like did give him all the pills and Baba like made a joke like, oh, like I'm dying, and then afterwards he laughed like, oh, this is nothing.
Right?
And for me it was like, oh, it goes to show how aware he was or how powerful he was. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But Baba has mentioned like even with like mushrooms or like any type of like substances where it's like, oh yeah, they will get you there, but they won't make you stay there. Like the only way that you can stay there is through your heart. So that's pretty sweet.
That's pretty awesome, right? I mean, many people don't know that many of the company CEOs have been there, and I've heard many other they're very popular people have visited the ashram and got some guidance, etc. So I would like to ask you, what was your experience like? I remember you were tearing up when until then you were all excited, you were very happy to get there, but when we got into the temple, when there was a platform on which he used to sleep, when we went there, touched the rugs that he used, the quilt that he was using, we were led to touch that, etc. After that you started crying. So why?
Oh man.
Well,
sorry, I remember. Wait, should we share like how we had this conversation that we were gonna go?
Oh yeah. Oh sure, we missed it. We skipped.
How did we meet? So you ended up coming to the lobby.
Oh yeah. So
because I was trying to get directions on how to get there.
Exactly. So and then they were struggling to the guy Yogi, I believe, the guy who works there. So he was having a hard time with trying to understand which ashram you're talking about. What it is. So I overheard your conversation. I was having food, and then I overheard, and then there were just few words that I heard, like you were trying to spell Neem Karoli, and then he was trying to ask you about the ashram. And then I thought maybe I should pitch in because I have heard so much about him and the ashram, but that trip I had decided I'm not going there because it's a higher altitude place, and it's much colder than Rishikesh because it's you climb, it's high up in the mountains, and so
mind you guys, this is like December.
Like
this
the
end of December.
End of December, peak cold, and it snows up there too. So, and I know that there was no Wi-Fi. There will be the cell phone itself doesn't work, and there are very less hotels that you could stay in. You have to do. They are not online. You can't book the hotels online. Many of those, etc. So, and the food of all the things, the food also is difficult. So I had decided that I will not go. I will go sometime, but not now. But when I pitched in, I just tried to help you, trying, okay, I know this is the name of the ashram, where it is located. This is how far it is from here. You will
Yeah.
probably, can take a bus, etc., but it's too long. But best to take a taxi
Yeah.
and things like that. I wanted to assist you, and then
And
say
then I
bye
was like,
bye.
"Hey,
Yeah,
come with me."
yeah, that's the thing.
I
Yeah,
remember telling you like, "I'm going, so come
yeah,
with me."
yeah. And
I
I was like,
remember you.
no, no, I don't want to. I cannot bear that cold, and I didn't have any cold gear. No
Yeah.
thermals, not a good shoe that can take the cold. I was like, no,
Yeah.
the stuff I had was good enough for Delhi's cold. That's the capital, and then now we moved away
Yeah.
from there and the higher altitude. It was already at night. I used to feel cold, and I had to arrange for a room heater, and then somehow keep myself going. I don't know how you managed in your room. It was even
It was
more.
fucking
It
cold.
was very very damn cold,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So I already am been taking that, and then she wants me to go to this place, which is higher in
It's
altitude,
so
and
funny.
yeah, they call it
I remember telling you like, "Hey, I'll help you with the
what
motivation,
is it?
like mind over body,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you'll help me get there."
exactly.
And it
Yeah,
worked.
it worked. Yeah, finally, guys. Yeah, so we hired a taxi
Yeah.
because
Well,
again,
I think
yeah,
that day like we also went our
yeah.
separate ways. You were still kind of
Oh,
like,
yeah,
"No,
yeah. I
I
was
don't think so,"
exactly.
and
I
I'm like,
said,
"Well, I'm going."
sure.
And I
Yeah.
think that night we were like texting back and forth. And
Yeah,
then I think at
correct.
some point you were like, "Okay, let's do
Okay,
it.
let's do it.
Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna hire a private
It's like
like
karma. So I
trip."
was working out the karma with you. So I was like, okay, let's do it. But because I was worried that one thing is about your thought about India and it's not safe. The second,
Yeah.
if you cannot your accent or your English, if the cab guy doesn't pick it up, then it's very hard.
Yeah.
And up there is nothing. Because it's the high in the mountains.
Yeah.
There is no cell phone. There is no Wi-Fi.
Which is so funny
If you're
because all of that I
Mhm.
didn't even think about.
Yeah, I was
Which
just
is
thinking.
so sweet that you I honestly feel like you in a way took care of me.
Yeah, it was probably the teacher. So just threw me, but the teacher. So then I was
Yeah.
thinking, yeah, now she already has this safety concern in the mind, and now people told me that when you go up there, cell phone doesn't work, Wi-Fi
Yeah.
doesn't work, and then the food also you'll have to figure out if all these are there. Then her accent and she can't talk it because those people
Yeah.
are not used to English. The people there, it's
Yeah.
like a village, and they're not. They cannot even understand, follow you. Then the following day or the days you're staying, what food will you have?
Yeah.
How will you talk to them? How will you move around? And I said, okay, maybe we will give it a try. And then by that time, you were like, okay, can you join? I said, okay, let's go, let's see what
That's
happens. So
awesome.
we hired the taxi. We got a
Yeah.
very good guy, and we also thought about saving time by letting him drive the entire night. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah, we did, I think, right?
yeah,
Like it was
yeah,
overnight.
yeah, yeah.
Because I remember like the night sky.
And it's oh
Because I
yeah,
remember
you were
same
in the
thing.
front seat, and then yeah, you were asleep, and yeah, it was.
Which also, mind you guys, like now
Mhm.
looking back, it's so crazy because I think I told you when we
Uh-huh.
met up like
Yeah.
a couple of days ago,
Uh-huh.
like what the fuck? Like I'm sleeping in the
In the
car
car.
at night with two random strangers,
Right.
like
Yeah.
hours away from a main city.
Awesome. Yeah, and then it's all high up in the mountains. It's
Yeah.
just pitch dark as well. So it was fun. It was
And I
all
just
guided.
trusted. Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
all the teacher who wanted to make sure everything goes through
Yeah.
fine. So long story short, yeah, we kind of visited there, and we stayed, and then
We
I
stayed in
think
a hotel. Nothing
yeah.
happened, guys, but but it was so funny.
It was funny.
I
Yeah.
remember you came out with like a heater,
Yeah, I
and
was
in my head
prepared. I
I
was
was like, "You
prepared.
really brought a heater?"
Yeah.
Like,
But you know why? Because the
it was
resources
cool.
there wasn't much, but
But
the
now
heater.
I understood it. Like
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
understand it before.
Back then, okay. Yeah,
Like I didn't
I was just
understand it. Like I thought, like it's a hotel. Like of course they're gonna have heaters.
yeah that
But
yeah
they
they
didn't.
didn't. That's why I said
Yeah.
it's up in the mountain. It's better to be prepared than to go there and then realize there's no heater, and then it's so cold you can't take it, etc.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was fun, and then we went to the ashram.
Yeah.
We visited the ashram. I think you probably didn't sleep well that night. You were looking at the sky and things like that, but I
Yeah.
slept well.
Yeah.
But in the morning when we went to the ashram again, yeah, we went to the temple, and then when we were looking at the place where he slept, and then
Yeah.
he used to sleep there a lot, and then he used to talk. You kind of were in tears, etc. What was your experience
Yeah.
like?
Yeah. It's so funny because I don't. Yeah, like we went through the ashram. I remember we had to take our shoes off. We got basad, right? Like basad is like the food that they give us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I remember seeing the statues, and I didn't feel anything, right? It was very much like, oh my god, like I made it here. Like that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like I've heard stories about this place. Like I've heard like Ram Dass's connection. And then for some reason, like I saw the tucket.
Okay.
And like I went around to meditate, and I think I touched it. And
all
of a sudden, like just tears,
so it's all this energy
like started like coming through me. And at some point I remember like having snot like underneath my nose. And it was funny because it's like I had just met you, but it felt so vulnerable. Like I just met this person and I'm like crying. I remember you coming up a couple of times like, are you okay? Like, yeah, I'm okay. Like I don't know why I'm crying.
Sure. Happens.
Yeah, and I think like in that moment, it's like even to this day, I don't think I have like words to explain it.
You have to experience it.
I know in the moment I was very confused because I always had this mindset of like if I'm crying, I must be sad or something's wrong. And in that moment, it's like I didn't feel any sadness. Like I didn't feel anything of what I thought, but I also didn't feel happy.
Okay.
Like it wasn't this or that. It was like this content, really deep, peaceful feeling.
Wow. Okay.
You know, and yeah, and I mean like one of the things that I got from that, which is like the core of everything that I've done, is like, oh yeah, like we're all really here to be love and share love.
Wow.
You know, I think like I don't know if it was like a download. I don't know if somehow Baba's energy was like boom, like that's your thing for the rest of your life is this purpose to share. But like I remember just crying and just being in the energy. Yeah, and ever since then it's always been like be love, share love, like that's what we're here for.
Wow. So that trip actually changed the course of your life. It gave you
a lot of intentions.
Wow.
I feel like it gave me a lot of intention and purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So guys, if anybody of you are kind of lost or you don't know what to do next, or if you're stuck somewhere, you want guidance, you can always read up the autobiography of Steve Jobs. And even online you can find stuff about Mark Zuckerberg, and there's a video that he talks about where he visited the ashram and his experience. Somebody in India was interviewing him, and then Mark Zuckerberg talks about the ashram, etc. So if in case you need guidance, if you're stuck, it's highly advisable that you go spend some time, then seek the blessings, and then get back on track.
Yeah.
So
definitely look him up. He has like such beautiful stories. And again, it was very strange because I had two friends at the time that were very connected to Ram Dass and Neem Karoli Baba. And for me, it was like I've never felt connected like that. Like, like, but oh shit, like I'm here.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Looking up, like you grew up in the US, you're born, raised here. So there is no way you would have seen him. And nothing you know about him, right? So but when you went there, it's kind of a connection. So from theosophy, what I have learned is that we all went through like from mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, animal kingdom. So we were in those we had taken lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, but then finally we became individualized as a human soul. As per theosophy, the minute that happened, there was a teacher assigned to your soul, and he is responsible, he or she, there is no, at the soul level, there's nothing like that. So that person is responsible for you to get, to take care of you, to nurture your soul, to assist you to move from there until you're enlightened or you're found, you have like connected back to your higher soul, etc. So on the way, there are many teachers who assist you, and sometimes I've seen that it could be this particular soul teacher, and that is why you don't know why, but you feel so pulled towards them. So that was a very nice feeling and an experience that you had, and we can see in your podcast, we can feel that in your videos that you upload, that how loving and nurturing you are, and then you're in spite of all the daily chores you have like a full-time day job, and then you have school, and in time apart from all that, you make time to do podcasts, etc. And then I know definitely there is no monetary benefit coming out of all the effort that you put in.
Not yet.
Not yet, right? So not yet. So in spite of all that, you still put in all the effort,
Yeah.
buying all the gear, putting in like what all you need to discuss, and then you get onto the camera, and then in front of the camera you start recording, editing, and then uploading. So it's a lot of work. So
Yeah.
it's I think it
Mm.
shows like what direction you picked, and it's beautiful to know
Thank you.
that it has impacted you, and then glad your
Yeah.
opinion about the trip and the people changed.
Yeah.
So very glad that we could cross paths, and then we could get in touch, and then we stayed in contact, and I
Yeah.
was trying to meet you many times after that, but didn't
Yeah.
work out somehow.
Now we're here.
Now I'm here, and then
Yeah.
I'm very glad that all of this happened. And
And it really does
yeah.
feel like, because I know
Yeah.
like after the trip or during the
Mhm.
trip and even afterwards,
Mhm.
it really felt more of that conviction, like, oh my God, that was Baba's work.
Wow.
You
That's
know,
nice,
like
yeah.
Baba put us in each other's paths for a reason,
For a
right?
reason,
Like
yeah,
it felt
yeah.
like it was meant to be, and it
Sure.
was so perfect.
Awesome.
You know.
So I saw one of the posts or updates that you had posted. You had been to his ashram somewhere in the US or Mexico.
Oh yeah, New Mexico. Yeah.
New Mexico. So can you tell us more about like?
Yeah.
I don't know much about that center. So
yeah, so we went a couple years ago. I think it was like during COVID.
Oh,
and it was really nice too.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, it was really
It's-
nice. Like
okay,
we
so-
meditated, we chanted. I think they had an event going on as
Uh-huh.
well. So we met like other
Okay.
people. And in that ashram, like one of the things that really stands out is that I think I got to understand Christ more.
Oh, okay.
But the way that it came through is like we were meditating, and the way that in the ashram and how it came through is, oh, like there's so many people who have walked this life that shows what it's like to live really kind of like how the universe energy works. Sure. But for me, it gave me that perspective of like, oh, Jesus and Baba are like one and the same. Like Jesus is like a person who walks in the word of the universe or the word of the Lord, right? How they say it.
Sure. Yeah.
And he's very present, he's wise, and he has all these like powerful gifts.
Okay.
You know, and it's like he hasn't been around for what, like thousands of years? Like I don't know, right? Like how many years? Yeah. And it's like, oh, like Baba is like such a manifestation of that, but in the
Of
most
that love.
recent times.
Yeah, sure.
Like of love too. Yeah, because it's like unconditional love.
Unconditional love.
Yeah.
So in Theosophy, what we learned was that Master Jesus and Christ are two different people.
Okay.
So Christ is the world teacher. It's an incarnation of the world teacher. So the same world teacher was born as Lord Krishna, who gave Bhagavad Gita. Again, it's a sacred book for the Hindus. So he was born as a child, and then he grew up, and then he did a lot of miracles, and then he gave these teachings. So it helps mankind. And the same soul, which went back, he was born, he used Master Jesus' body. Because Master Jesus, right from his childhood, he kept on purifying his body, his mind, soul, all of his other bodies, etc. And then so he was really very, very pure. And then he was picked so that the Christ would actually take over his body and spread the teachings. It's again the same teachings that Lord Krishna gave, very similar, but it's different language and slight changes here and there and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, all these teachers are very, very loving, very kind. They give you like unconditional love.
Yeah.
They come from the love aspect of God. Hinduism, it's called as Vishnu. In case of and we pray the same Trinity, Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu, and the same thing in Christianity. They call it as God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Yeah, so it's the same Trinity. So they preserve something who have to preserve what they have created. That's the love aspect of God, and that is where the teachers come from. So that is why you probably felt that the feeling of being loved unconditionally. It's more to do with the bliss. Love is also not the word, but I feel it's the Sanskrit. It's called as ananda. So when the soul is kind of filled with it, you kind of tear up. You are happy for no reason. It's more than happiness. You feel like contentment, and you feel like you don't need anything.
Which is funny because it's so funny because it's like the way that I see it, it's like you have like the negative and positive emotions of like sadness and happiness. And this one felt like in the middle, which is content, right? That's the word that I can describe it to. But yet it felt so much bigger than all of these emotions in terms of it being close to bliss.
Awesome.
I wish I could have the words, but it feels like that. It was like so much more than all of this.
Right. You have to go there, or whichever place you have to experience that. Bliss. Wow.
But it also, it maybe like in the moment too, it just felt like the walls that I had or anything that I had just like completely broke.
Or
like we're not there in that moment.
Wow.
Yeah, because for me to cry like that, like even now, like it's still practice for me to cry, right? But for me to cry and sob like that was just like, oh my, I don't know. Like, okay, like I'm here and I'm going to let it be. And I didn't have a choice but to let it be.
I was just thinking, I mean, she came in here and she's crying. But then again, I know this happens because sometimes it happened to me. But
you were so sweet.
And then I was like, okay, let's wait, give her the time. Then, all the energy is very good here.
And it was so sweet. I remember I wanted to stay at the ashram and you were trying to tell the people, hey, she's from America. Can she stay?
Exactly.
And they kept saying no because of like winter and stuff.
Because they don't want to. If there are any casualties at night, there is no ambulance that can reach, and they would be held responsible. So
makes sense,
So they were trying to say no. For at least in the winter, we don't want people at night, but in the summers, yes, you can do service seva, and then stay back. So that's why they were saying no, and then I was trying to push them, saying that,
which was so sweet. Like you asked a couple times.
Because it's worthy. I mean, you have gone all that far, and then you've taken all that effort. It makes best if we can stay at least 2-3 nights at the ashram, absorb and take in all that energy. Because I've heard the places where such great masters stayed has a lot of rejuvenating energy that they leave, and then you can absorb that will rejuvenate your system, etc. So that's why I was trying to push. I was saying, hey, sweet. Can you let her stay, or can you let us stay? And then he was like, no. Then I said, if not me, at least let her stay. I will stay outside. They said no. And then finally they had to say that it's slightly risky because at night they don't have the room heaters. They don't have any infra, the gear to keep the room warm. They have got used to it, and they have like thick blankets, and like him, I don't know how Baba used to maintain, right?
I mean, it's Baba.
It was so cold, and all the time you see him,
just
he
with
never
the
used to wear
blanket.
Just one blanket. His feet are always not wearing any shoes, nothing. He used to just have one blanket and sit in the cold because, so all the powers that they had. So
how was our trip? Like, how was the end of our trip? We explored Nainital.
Oh yeah, we went to Nainital. That was fun. I recall again struggling with the cold, and
you bought like extra.
Somebody here didn't feel so much cold as me, and
mine upper body. You know what? I think I was really cold, but I was trying not to say anything.
Oh God, you're a cheater.
I remember you got thermals.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like I should have bought some, but shut the fuck up. Like you're almost done on this mountain trip.
So I had to end up buying a pair of thermals because the cold was, I couldn't take it anymore. Because down south, it doesn't get so cold at all. So it's a pleasant weather, just like in, I would say San Diego or maybe the Bay Area.
So that's right. You're from the south of India.
Yeah, south of India. So it was like the Bay Area. Okay, no humidity much. It doesn't. There are not much of variation. So it's always pleasant weather. So when you go up north and in December, it's the peak cold. So like I said, I was not prepared for that trip. It just happened like a backpacking trip. And then when I went there, Miss Neri is like, we should go to the ashram.
Let's go a little bit higher.
Much higher. It's already cold here and she wanted to go much higher. So stopped there, and then we, in a place called as Nainital, we started looking for shops. And like in the market, we went out, and then I kept asking one person after the other person, I need like a thick jacket or the thermals or whatever. And there was only 2 shops that sold like a good pair of thermals. And then that is when I cheated. I went into the store, bought that, I wore that, and then you don't know it's underneath the t-shirt and the jeans, right? So I was like, okay, now see, I don't feel the cold at all.
I was like, you're just such a cheater.
See, I mind over body. I have complete control over my body. There is nothing that is going to stop me. And I think it was the Christmas Eve, probably, or it was
Oh,
the day of
we
Christmas.
actually left on Christmas Day. Because you know
Okay, so
what?
then,
Again, it's so
Mhm.
sweet. I remember you bought me a vegan chocolate bar.
oh yeah,
And you're like,
yeah,
Merry
just
Christmas. And I was like, that's so sweet. Thank
yeah,
you.
I was yeah, that day I think, yeah, because that store next to the hostel was so good. They had vegan chocolates, they had
I remember.
sugar-free
Yeah.
chocolates, they had
Yeah.
very good products. I love the stuff there. Then later I was thinking, see, in Hindu, or being a Indian, I know these are the festivals I have, and then you eat a
Yeah.
lot of good food, enjoy the festival of the family and things. Like, oh, this girl is flew all the way from the US, and no family here, and then Christmas she's not celebrating. Then whom
Which
are
is
we
so
left with? It's
sweet.
just me and maybe, of course, the chauffeur. That's it. Then I thought, okay, at least a little bit of the movies that I have watched from my childhood. This is how they used to celebrate.
That's
They would buy
so cute.
buy a gift, and then gift wrap it, then put it under the Christmas tree, and then at night you come back and then pretend as if somebody left it, like the Santa Claus left the gift there, and then pick it up and then say, "Hey, I'm surprised." So I thought maybe I'll surprise her at least to an extent, where whatever was possible, and then I found good chocolates there. I
Yeah.
said, okay, at least your festival, the Christmas festival, you will probably enjoy a little bit more.
Super sweet.
So that's why I bought those. So that was good. We had fun, and it was a
Yeah.
nice place.
And then
Yeah.
we came back, right? Like we went to
Oh.
Nereyda, we walked around, we had some
Oh.
good food.
Yes, because it was the Christmas Eve. I think we went to a church.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because
We went
something
we went to like a
Muslim mosque is what they call it
a
as.
mosque.
Yeah,
We went to like a Catholic church.
yes.
And then we went to
Yeah.
like a Christian church, I think.
Yes.
And then we went to like another temple. Like
Temple,
it was like a
correct. Yeah, it
circle
was
of just
like a
like
circle of going
different
into all
churches
the
and
religions.
temples and mosques.
Yeah, that was fun, because I don't know if I've said I studied with pranic healing. I learned a lot of, it's a form of energy healing modality, but it goes beyond healing. It talks about a lot of similarities in various religions, how spirituality actually brings all of us together, but religions tries to split. But spiritually, when you look at the inner secret, it's the same topic that is taught in various other formats. So for me, at a very early age, I overcame that. Being a Hindu, I have to go only to Hindu temple. So that night was that evening and the night was so nice that we could go to the couple of churches, then go to the Muslim mosque, and then go to Hindu temple, and irrespective of where we are able to pray, and then that format. So yeah, that's beautiful. When I look at the pictures, like I just recall, wow, we did so many things. Yeah, that was
and
not,
it was because even for me, like growing up Catholic, I remember stepping into the mosque and thinking like, are we doing something wrong? Like, and then I think, I don't know, our energy was just, it was like good intention.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just, let's just go pray.
Exactly.
Let's just go and explore.
Yeah,
that was like, okay, it's fine. It was. Yeah.
And I was not feeling cold, guys. When we did all that, no cold.
He's a cheater.
Thanks to the thermals, it kept me warm, so we could go around it. We're talking about.
It was late at night too.
Yeah, late at night, post sunset, and the temperature kept dropping, but I didn't feel cold. So we explored that whole. No, I'm not a cheater. When we were trying to do shopping, then we had some good Indian food. After a while,
I remember that. I have a picture like of, I don't know what it's called, but it's a big.
Yeah, it's like a dosa. We call it as a masala dosa.
But I remember the picture because I'm so cold and I have like all this stuff and I'm like, it was so good though. So good.
It was nice. Yeah, it was good, tasty food, and the temperature was cold, and we got to eat something spicy. So it was fun. And then after that, when we returned back, I think you left.
To Rishikesh.
Yeah.
We came back to Rishikesh.
Rishikesh, yeah.
And then I think we hung out for a little bit. We went to the ashram.
Oh, yeah, correct. The Beatles Ashram. How did we forget that? Yeah, there's a very beautiful Beatles. It's actually an ashram from one of the famous Maharshis. And then the Beatles group actually stayed there for a long time.
Yeah, I think one of the albums, the White Album, I think came through it.
Exactly. They became very popular while they composed the music there. And now they started calling it as the Beatles Ashram.
Yeah.
There's nobody else there, nobody stays there. It's all just the remains that's there, but it's a good place to see a lot of art like
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
I think
explore.
after that we hung out with all the other people who were staying in
At
the
the
hostel for the,
hostel.
yeah,
We
in
went
the
to
hostel.
dinner. I think we went to dinner a couple times, like
Mhm.
maybe
Yeah, yeah,
twice.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Few of us are in touch on Facebook.
Shout
We should
out,
do shout outs.
guys.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be fun to get back and then catch up, right?
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
So then I think
And
we
then we also
explore.
went to
Uh-huh.
a ceremony, like some other
Oh,
night.
correct. Yeah, it was the Ganga Aarti.
Yeah.
They do offer prayers to the holy Ganges river that flows in Rishikesh. It's considered as one of the most holiest rivers on the planet. So they kind of offer their prayers in the morning and also in the evening.
Yeah.
So they do have big uh, equipments where they do like fire offering, sacred water offering,
Yeah.
etc. I think yeah, that was fun, and they do dance,
I know that was
enjoy.
like
Yeah,
fun. You're
yeah,
like dancing.
yeah. That's fun. They celebrate the Mother Ganges
How did you
flowing there.
dance? Because you were dancing earlier.
Yeah, it just a
Before we
little
started
bit,
the
and then
podcast. How
yeah.
did you dance?
Oh yeah, it was okay, but not.
No,
Yeah.
how did you dance? You want to show us?
For me,
How did you
it
dance?
was I was trying to copy them, hey, and then you were kind of completely engrossed, and then yeah, at some point I wanted to stop and say, Miss Neri, this is not a club. You can't dance this way. But it's fun because the whole group was like,
Oh
as
my
if
god!
as the whole group was dancing and they were all enjoying. So I was like, okay, let her dance. But I think I recorded.
That is so funny. You did a little bit.
Yeah, I
You
did
didn't
a little bit
record.
of recording. Yeah, so it was fun. That
That is
was
so funny
fun.
that you say that.
Yeah, and then I think
Yeah.
everybody started following a set of steps, like the same
Yeah.
thing, and then it all changed. And then I remember they gave a talk about Ganges and stuff.
Yeah.
Then
That
when
felt
we
very magical.
right, yeah, it was
Very, very magical.
nice. And then after the Aarti, I think we went to other places, and maybe that guy whom I got a massage. I really loved.
Oh
I
yeah.
think his name is Aniel. I may be pronouncing it wrong, but it's Aniel. He was really good at doing a massage and then telling you where the emotions are stuck in the body and then what you need to work on.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I was
You
saying you
recommended
go
it to
there,
me.
go there. It's nice and
I think that was like
yeah.
my first like healing session
okay.
ever.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
because I knew you talked about it and it was so
Yeah.
interesting. And then I remember I went
Mhm.
and he was massaging my belly, and he's like the
Yeah.
first one that like
Okay,
mentioned like,
picked it
oh,
up.
you know,
Okay.
like you have stuff from your family on your
Wow.
belly.
Wow.
And in my
He
head, I
was
was like,
very-
what? Like, what does that mean? Like, what?
Yeah, he's amazing. He
Yeah,
can
and
figure
he's
out-
right
yeah,
though.
he's
Like,
right.
you know, a lot of
Yeah.
shit has come
Yeah,
up
right.
since then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's
And I felt
bang on. Like when he tries to work, he'll say, "Okay, this is the emotion. This is the emotion." It's
Really
totally
good.
He was really good. Yeah.
I think I did it like twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
one session, and then after that, no, he was fully booked. Like I could never go. I went back a couple of times, but he was fully booked.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I stayed in touch. I got his number once in a while. We
Yeah.
exchanged messages on WhatsApp. Even I'll
That's
wish him
awesome.
for some of the festivals, and he replies back and things like that. So he was
That's awesome.
amazing guy. Then I think you left on that day after we had food. I think the whole group went out, and then maybe after a couple
A
of
couple
days.
of
you left.
days, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I left.
Mhm.
Oh, you know what? I actually left on New Year's Eve.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
remember I celebrated like
Uh-huh.
New Year's Eve, like when it dropped at the airport.
Oh, okay.
Like I remember there was like
Oh.
a guy who was like traveling too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was like, oh, like
Awesome.
we're spending New
You're
Year's
spending
Eve like
New
at an airport, and then somebody was like super dressed up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of stayed back. I
Mhm.
was in the same hostel for a few more nights.
Okay.
The hostel that was right in front of us, like the opposite, that had a lot of people, a lot of fun. They enjoyed the
Yeah.
whole night. Then
Yeah.
after that, maybe I was around for a couple of days only, and then I always wanted to go and take a dip in the river Ganges,
That's
but you know
right.
it is because I didn't feel cold. I was trying to say no on that trip, but finally on the just the day before I left, I thought, okay, let's not listen to others. Whatever they have said, it's fine. Let me
Yeah.
try it putting my feet at least. So I went to a place. I just walked like half a mile, and then there's certain part of it which looks like a beach. There was nobody there, and then I said, okay, let me try. There's nothing. I'm not gonna just put my feet. It was too damn cold.
Yeah.
But then again, I felt like, okay, in the healing teacher had said it's better to take dip in Ganges. Then why should I miss?
Yeah.
And finally, I got the courage, undressed, got in, took a dip. It was like a refrigerated water, much cold than that. Then I was shivering. The whole body was shivering. Then I came out. Few minutes. It felt so good. I think I did it couple of times, 3 times actually. It's we practice trying to take 3 dips wherever. So did it three dips and then out, and then I was good. If I had done that on the first day, I would have probably done the like the Wim Hof keeps saying the cold showers are good, the cold dips are good. So then I would have done it every day.
Yeah.
But maybe next time when I go, I will definitely do it.
Do it every day.
Yeah. Do it every day. It was
Me
fun.
too. I would do it too. I didn't do it that time.
Yeah.
At all.
So I heard a lot of improvements have been done. They have put a lot of infrastructure investments and made the place much better because of the government and things like that. Things are much better. So yeah, hopefully we'll visit sometime.
Yeah, hopefully maybe like soon too.
We don't know.
It'd be nice.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun going back. Yeah, there are a few more important places around that area. Like there are a few more saints or a few more enlightened people who all stayed, who have ashrams in that area. So it might be good to go explore and see what all are there.
Yeah. Hopefully next time when I see you, I'll be in India.
So be it. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, probably others who are watching, you could tag along. And then maybe,
if you guys are interested.
Yeah.
I know I have a friend who's interested in going to India, but if you guys are interested, maybe we can do a whole trip together and we'll do like a spiritual quest.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah,
you need a lot of time though, because there are so many saints, so there live so many places which are very, very energetically high. Like in here, like in California, I've heard a lot about Mount Shasta.
Oh yeah,
then
one of the chakras they say, right? Like Arizona too.
Yeah. And then when Paramahamsa Yogananda flew in, he created churches all around the West Coast, like in Encinitas. He came to the Hollywood, like LA. He went up to Glendale. Then he has his headquarters in Mount Washington.
That's right.
The Lake Shrine. So all the places that he went around were very good, very, very nice to visit.
Yeah.
And there are other people also who have found out the high energy places. And just like that, we have many more places there. So maybe exploring some of the monasteries up in the north is also fun. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll plan for a trip.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it was wonderful talking to you.
Thank you so much. You have to give me a hug.
Sure.
Thank you so much. We're doing a podcast with me. Yes. It was so nice to see you. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. And thank you for listening. Right?
Thank you for listening, guys. Thank you for the time. Appreciate all the time. Thank you.
Much, much love.